Hey, it's Heather. We're dropping the trailer for season 2 of Magic in the United States next week, and we can't wait to share it with you. In the meantime, take a listen to this excerpt from the podcast A Little Juju. This is such a fantastic series, and in this excerpt, host Juju shares the amazing story of her initiation into Ifa as a priestess of Osun. There's a lot more she shares, so definitely head over to A Little Juju and listen to the rest of this episode. Enjoy!
Many of my OG listeners know that I have been, and I was a daughter of Osun since I first started to be interested in this religion. And the religion, it goes by many names. Some people refer to it as Ifa. It is a Yoruba cosmology system and understanding of life and living and death. And it's based on living a life that is in alignment with our destiny, in alignment with our Ori, or the Orisha that lives within each of us. We all have an Ori, which means we all have a destiny that has been, predetermined to an extent, not completely, like you can't veer off of the path because things change every day. But generally, we came to this life with like, okay, we're going to do these things. This is what I signed up to do. I signed up to be a podcaster, in this life. That's what I promised in heaven. And so the Orisha and the deities in my Ori will help guide me and recall what my destiny is, right? So obviously these deities are African deities. These are Black deities. And I've been very interested in this tradition since about maybe 2017, 2016. But I didn't and was not called to Osun and feeling connected to her until about 2018. And so in 2018, that is when Beyonce's Lemonade, was that 2018? Okay, so my producers was like, hold on now. Don't get Beyonce's stuff wrong on Beyonce's internet. Okay, yes, Lemonade came out in 2016. And so that is when I first felt called to the particular Orisha or deity named Osun. And Beyonce's portrayal of Osun, people were calling Beyonce out about Lemonade for many things, but specifically with the song Hold Up, where she had on the yellow dress and she had the bat and she's singing, walking down the street, and she's breaking car windows and singing sweetly, but causing mayhem because her nigga ain't showing up. Okay, period. And people was playing with her, so she's breaking shit. Yeah. So I was like, oh, she's portraying a deity potentially. That's what people were talking about a lot. And this is the time I was really heavy on Facebook. So there was a lot of conversations in Facebook communities and spiritual communities about, oh my God, Beyonce is portraying this deity named Osun. That's why she's wearing the color yellow, because that is a color that is attributed to Osun, and she's breaking shit, and Osun be breaking shit, but she's doing it with a smile, and she's beautiful and sweet. And so people are feeling all different kinds of ways about Beyonce portraying this, but I was so stimulated and interested in this particular deity. And so from Hold Up video and this conversation that was happening on Facebook, I started to really research who Osun was and why was she important, and why her name was in everybody's mouth, right? Because I'm feeling particularly called to her. So the more I learn about her, I'm really interested. And I was really thankful to Beyonce essentially for portraying this potentially. We don't know. She's never confirmed or denied it. I think that she was portraying this deity. And so I ended up this is when I lived in Chicago. And I ended up going to a spoken word night in Chicago, and a woman got on stage and she did a poem about Osun, actually, but it was about Beyonce's portrayal of Osun. And she did not like Beyonce's portrayal. She was saying that it was disrespectful and all these other things. And long story short, I did not fuck with, I did not like that poem because I was learning so much about Osun at this time. And I was very thankful to Beyonce for portraying it because it taught me. And I ended up confronting this sweet lady who was just trying to give her poem about how she thinks Beyonce is disrespectful for portraying such an ancient deity in this callous way in pop culture. And long story short, I ended up joining her spiritual house. She ended up being a practitioner within the Orisha tradition. And she was like, well, you should come to my spiritual house, my Ile, and meet my godfather, my padrino. And that is how I got into the tradition, actually. I ended up being initiated shortly after, and she became my god sister. So shout out to Melissa. I was called to the tradition via a pop culture moment, which is why I think pop culture is so important. And regardless of what we think about the portrayal of it, it can spark ideas and interest in people. And so it did for me. So shout out to Beyonce. Shout out to Melissa and the poem that I did not like. Shout out to me speaking up and saying I don't like it. Let's talk about it. And then for her actually bringing me into the tradition. So this was, again, so many years ago. It's like 2017. We're in 2024 now. And I've actually finally initiated into Osun. So I always felt called and attracted to her. But now, like, she is my mother and I am a priestess. I've been through, as some of you all know, many different spiritual houses. And a spiritual house is basically the home, the space where you're able to learn more about the Orisha from your godparents or your spiritual teachers, whatever kind of language people prefer around that. And it's also where you go through your initiation. So the different ceremonies, you may receive different deities, different shrines, different icons. You get all of this from your spiritual house. All of this you get from your godparents. And so I've been through different houses over the few years. Some of y'all know that story. And I finally landed in a home where I was able to fully initiate and become a priest. And I'm so blessed to be able to have been initiated into Osun actually in Nigeria. So there's different places that you can initiate, that you can get initiated in the US, if that's where your house is, your Ile. You may get initiated in Cuba or Brazil or wherever there's a spiritual house for the Orisha, there's ability for you to be initiated there. But obviously, because this is a traditional Yoruba spiritual practice, I'm so happy that I got to actually go to Yoruba land to get initiated. So like I'm on the soil where this tradition started, and I'm being initiated amongst, yes, people who traveled with me from the US. It was a group of us who went, but I'm being initiated by Yoruba people. You know, I'm hearing the language. The deities are talking in Yoruba, right? So it was like a full-on immersion. And I initiated in November of 2023. And I had so many butterflies in thinking about the process of going. I'm thinking, you know, what is this going to be like? I'm nervous. Is Osun going to like me? You know, just random things like, is it going to be okay? How is the living situation going to be, right? I've never been to the continent before. So this was my first time even going to Africa. I'm happy that my first time going to Africa is Nigeria to initiate. Like that was just such a big deal for me. And I will say that I think for those of us who are Black American or at least a part of the diaspora and have never been to the continent at all, regardless of the country, you know, you have preconceived notions and ideas about what it's going to be like. And on one end, you have the negative things that have been portrayed so much about, you know, the whole entire continent of Africa from the media. And then on the other side of that, sometimes you have this like really intense romanticizing of what it will be like. Yes, I'm going home, or like, yes, it will be beautiful and, you know, butterflies, you know, and all of these things. And, you know, it's safe to say in my experience, it's neither. It's neither one of those things. And it's not the terrible things that you see on TV, and it is not romantic. I felt like when I went to Nigeria that I felt like I was down south, actually, a lot of the time. Like I felt like I was going to a family reunion down south somewhere with a bunch of cousins that I don't see that often, but they cool. But you're just kind of meeting your family and you're like, okay, that's the cool aunt. Okay, that cousin gets on my nerves. Okay, I mess with you over here. Like, you know, that's what it felt like being in Nigeria. It was magical, but it was not magical because I felt like I was like in the motherland, quote unquote. It was magical because it felt so regular. And it was a good regular. I was like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm quote unquote home. So we go, our Ile went, I think it was about like 13 of us who traveled together. And we're staying actually on a compound, which is basically a town, a village, a home center. Our Aluo, which is like our kind of head chief spiritual dad in Nigeria, has a compound there. He's Nigerian. He lives there on his compound with his wives. Yes, plural, period. And has a lot of room. So we stayed on the compound. So we're staying in the village, right? We're in Ogun State. It's not a very city feeling. It's not super developed in a sense of like roads and all of that. I mean, there were roads, but we are in the car, bumping up and down in the car, going over hills. It's dust, flying up into our noses like this. I was in the village. I'm so grateful that my experience in Nigeria was also this as well. It was not like Victoria Island, Lagos vibes. It was like in the village, and I was so comfortable there too. I really enjoyed that. And so we all were in the cars. It's like 4 different cars that are taking us from Lagos to Ogun State, which is hours in the car. The driving is chaotic, okay? Driving in Nigeria is chaotic. It's lawless. You can do whatever you want, however you want. But I never saw any accidents while I was there. That's what I don't get. That's the magic. It's just like, how are people driving like this? And I have not seen one accident. Just vibes on the road, vibes, and I guess the deities. I felt so safe though. So safe, so comfortable. We get to the compound. It's very late. I'm sharing a room with my Osun sisters. So the people that I end up initiating into Osun with, it was 3 of us, the Osun delegation, shout out to us. And we were there for a couple of days, and then initiation started. So while there, we, go through initiation, which is about 3-ish, 4 days. And it's a series of different things, but, initiation is private, so I can't share a lot of what was going on. But we're going through ceremonies. Like, my hair is cut. I'm a bald baddie now, which I was kind of worried about. There's these little things, maybe sometimes frivolous things that we're thinking about, like, oh my God, I have long hair, I have to cut it all off. Yeah, most likely. My hair was cut by a wonderful Babalao with a razor, like old-fashioned razor. It wasn't no clippers, baby. He had the small razor, old school, cut the hair just like that. And I was bald very quickly. And yeah, initiation is mostly quite boring. Because I think that people think that when you're going through initiation, it's like, oh, you're doing this and you got to do that. And I'm sure it's just like spirits and, and there's certain periods where there is an activation around that. But for the most part, I will say initiation is a lot of waiting. It's a lot of sitting. It's a lot of having to sit with yourself. It's a lot of pondering. It's a lot of stillness and quiet. It's actually quite quiet. When you are inviting a deity into your life, essentially a deity is going into your head. They're like putting an Orisha into your body. And so you're having to, over these days, settle in with a deity being in your body. So you really can't do too much anyway. You're almost like a baby. You're a newborn. That's why your hair is cut. You're embracing and experiencing a new life. Your life is shifting and changing. And so you have to learn how to merge with this ancient spirit. And so that is what was happening. So I'm merging with this ancient spirit, specifically Osun Alawoye, which is the name of the Osun that I received. Osun is a deity that is, I think in pop culture, often portrayed as one who is like sexy and beautiful and sensual and fertile and rich, like kind of like beauty goddess. And that is all very true, I would say. However, it is not what we see on TV. Osun is actually very much a warrior deity. She's a warrior spirit. She don't play. Now that she is in my body, she don't play. It is not the frills, vibes, sexy, sensual, fertile. Yo, when I met the Iyas, the mothers, the women who initiated me into Osun, they were not like that, okay? They are very about their business, stern, yes, loving and kind, but about getting shit done. And that is what I realized that Osun is actually about. She don't play. She's not about the frills. She's not about being cute. She's not about all these like random pleasantries. She wants shit to be done, and she wants it to be done right and well. Period. And it made me feel so seen initiating into this deity, because like I am very kind and all of that, but I'm actually a person who is very like about my business. Like I'm very clear that I came here to work. I don't play a lot of games. Like I'm very much about my business. I'm very much about getting things done when they need to be. And being accountable for knowing what my role is and who I am. That is so Osun. Not that she's like not kind, but she's just like, baby girl, I hear you. Okay, you're sad. Great. Now, so what are we gonna do though? What are we gonna do about it? Like it's not just feelings and woo woo wah wah. So that's why I am very interested in always talking about who Osun is for me and how she needs to be portrayed, because I have a feeling that even though this attraction and sensual vibe is what people think about when they see Osun, I actually feel, in my experience with my Osun, that she wants more of the, I'm actually not here to fuck around. Okay? I'm actually here because there's work to do, y'all. And that's the energy that I have. And that's the energy that she has. So I am making it my mission to show this side of her as well. So once initiation was actually finished and done, y'all, I was in Nigeria for a month, honey, because we were there actually to go to an Osun festival. So it was so amazing that I got to initiate into the deity and then go to a festival just days after. Honestly, it's like an Orisha house party, no more, no less. Each day, you know, there's so many different Orishas, and so we're giving offering to them. The community is coming out. We're dancing. It's a lot of dancing, a lot of singing, a lot of eating, a lot of libations, a lot of alcohol, a lot of possessions, meaning people are embodying the spirits. People are being possessed, overtaken by the spirits. And on the final day, we're giving reverence and honor to Osun. So we're actually going to her river because she is a deity of waters, of the rivers, lakes, and streams. And so on that final day, we went to the Osun River and gave her offerings. And I want to go back to this possession piece because I am someone who has experienced possessions before. Some people also call them mountings. It's whatever you prefer, whatever your tradition is. But basically, it's when a spirit essentially comes into your body and uses your body and you're not you. I mean, you're still you. You're still witnessing it. You're still there. But your movements shift. What you say may shift. You may even start speaking another language that you don't previously know, mind you. You may be able to do supernatural abilities that you couldn't normally do. And like when I say possessed, you know, we have to decolonize our mind. We think of like possessed by a demon and like a white bitch whose head's spinning around and like projectile vomiting. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like ancestral, spiritual, you know, Africana possession and possessive states. You may have seen videos of like online, there's a lot of things on YouTube where people are literally like eating fire. They are swallowing swords. They are puncturing themselves with sharp objects and they don't feel it. It is because they are not themselves. It is because they are embodying a deity. It's also a way to G-check during those kind of ceremonies if someone is pretending because, you know, you shouldn't feel certain things when you're possessed, right? So anyway, this was my first time possessing an Orisha. When I initiated into Osun, there is a moment, I will say this, where you have the possibility to be able to pass your Orisha. Then I was like, whoa, is this wow. Okay. A 1,000-year-old deity being in your body, and you feel it. You feel it. It was the most electrifying, ecstasy-inducing, beautiful thing I've ever experienced. I know that freedom is real because of possession. If there is an ability for a deity to overtake my body and guide my words, my movements, my thoughts, my languages, I know that there's just so much possible that we're able to tap into. That is what possession, I think, can and is supposed to teach us. I passed Osun, maybe by past, I mean possessed, maybe 4 times throughout my trip in Nigeria. Like, I completely embodied her. I was dancing for hours. Like, I don't dance for hours. My back be hurting. Me, in real life, I'm not dancing for hours. As Osun, she's dancing. She's wanting to drink. Like, completely just out of body experience. It was the most beautiful feeling I have ever experienced. And I just felt like my ancestors were guiding me every time I embodied her. And I just kept feeling like my ancestors were like watching me while I was in Nigeria. And I know that they were. It's really interesting because there's a reading that you get when you get initiated. Everyone has one from the Odu, which is like the sacred corpus of the tradition. And, you know, it gives you insight on your destiny that we talked about before, what your relationship is with the deities, why you came here. And so I was getting my Odu around my relationship to Osun, what Osun came to do for me, what I came to do for her. But at the end of it, the woman who was reading me my Iya, Osun Kemi, she's like, no, your ancestors are from where we are. We're in Ogun State, remember? Like, your ancestors are from here. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, okay, cool. Like, amazing. That's just something that she felt and knew, and that was confirmed in the divination. And so I happened to look back at my notes recently the other day. And y'all know I'm a dreamer. I'm a prophetic dreamer. My ancestors talk to me in dreams. And I had written down one of my dreams from my ancestors where they said the name Akanti to me, Akanti. And why did I look up Akanti? And it is a place in Ogun State, Nigeria. Mind you, I've had the Akanti in my phone because I write down everything that my ancestors tell me in dreams. I've had Akanti in my phone for maybe a year and a half. So for me to go to Nigeria, the people there are like, oh, your ancestors are from Ogun State specifically. And I'm like, okay, cool. I go back to my notes from a year before for my dreams. I look up Akanti, and Akanti is a town in Ogun State. I was like, okay, you can't make this shit up. And that is why I feel my ancestors so present. Like, yes, this is about Osun, but I feel my people. So shout out to the girlies from Ogun State, okay? Abiyokuta here. That's definitely so much of my ancestry. And so I learned all of that through my initiation. I learned that through Osun. And it was such a magical experience. I love yam and eggs, okay? We ate that damn near every day. Love yam and eggs. Suya, yum. That's like the beef. 8. And then agusi. Loved agusi. It's like God, don't stop me to line. I actually think it's made from a seed. It's like a stew, but that's made from a seed, and it has a lot of different peppers and onions. I don't know. Bomb. So I am honorary. I mean, I'm not honorary. My ancestors are from Ogun State. I am a Yoruba baddie. Like, I mixed. Because my ancestry, I do have ancestry from the Congo, but my other half is Yoruba. So it was so cute to just like walk around Nigeria and people just to think that I was Yoruba. And I was like, I mean, yes and no, but yeah, because my name is Fumi Lola. So if y'all see me out, please feel free to call me Osun Fumi Lola, because that is my name now. Yeah, Juju is cute, but like, I am Osun Fumi Lola, and I am a Yoruba baddie. I'm just so grateful for my experience. I can't wait to go back to Nigeria. I do want to have my like baddie Yoruba Legos moment. Like that does need to happen. But now that I've experienced, you know, being in the village and being in the cars and the honking and the lawless driving and vibes, like, I feel like I can do anything. I can take on life. I can take on New York. Shout out to all of the Iyas, all of the practitioners, all of my god siblings, my Iya, my Oluos, for taking such good care of us while we were there. And thank you to Nigeria and to my ancestors for completely shifting me. And Ore, that yeah, Osun.
All you need is a little juju, a little juju, a little juju. A little juju is the way. It's how I start my day. Confirm, no say. And I'll never get played. I'll take your photo to the grave. But that ain't even my thing. I just stay at the crossroads, pray. I just pour a little honey from my babe to make them stay. Cause I hate when Baileys, but I manifest a little with my Baileys. I'm my ancestors, baby, so I give them everything that they gave me, yeah. So I can't be stopped, manifested everything, give me props. I'm spiritually grounded while I'm on the top. My spirit's surrounded, so I'll never drop.
Hey, it's Heather again. I really hope you enjoyed this excerpt from A Little Juju. This podcast covers all things contemporary Black spirituality, with Osun Fumilola's unique blend of personal narratives, enlightening interviews, and ancestral folklore. Definitely head over and listen to the rest of this amazing story. It's episode 103. And I'll see you next week with the season 2 trailer of Magic in the United States.